Okay, so what's going to happen is you're going to get a delivery of your package, and we always want to make sure that it is upright like this. Do not ever lay the glass down flat like that, because if you do and you go to pick it up, it will snap. It breaks easily that way, but it's quite sturdy as long as it's upright this way or upright this way. So, and that's the way you always want to handle the glass, so it's always upright, if you will. Okay, so when you get your glass, you'll also see we've got blue tape on the outside. This makes it the inside of the glass that where we'll be installing it. On the back side, you'll see that you've got tape on 3 sides, and the bottom doesn't have tape on it at all, so you always know that that is the bottom. All right, now we'll go look at some of the simple tools we need to do this install. Okay, so we'll go to the table and we'll show you what I use. Okay, these are some of the things you're going to need to install the glass. Makes it pretty simple. You really need a caulk to match the trim color of the window or door you're putting it in. We'll get more details on that later. You'll need a sponge. That'll become evident later, and also a single edge razor blade to help clean and open your packages. I also frequently use a putty knife and a pick, handy for cleaning into small areas, is also getting sticky tape off. A good glass cleaner, and of course we also need paper towels. I use a different razor also from opening things, and you also want a trash bag handy. Paper bag works, grocery bag works fine. So these are the things that will help make your installation go easier. We do sell an install packet if you like that comes with your glass and help you with your install. So with all that in mind, we're ready to get started. All right, so I pick up the glass, keeping it vertical, as we mentioned before, and we call this the dry fit part of the process. We want to make sure the glass will go in the glass opening. So set that on the edge of the trim. And we see we've got a nice fit all the way around. You'll see some daylight, and that's perfectly normal because we want a little gap there so that we can put the caulk in. So you'll see light on the edge and the perimeter of the glass, and probably about 1/8 of an inch, and that's just exactly what we want to have. So now that we know the glass is going to go in when we put it in, we're ready to do the next step and take the sticky tape off the back. So we're going to take the sticky tape off. That's where the pick is really handy. It gets under there. Just pick it up and just pull it straight down. And this is a windshield sticky tape. It is extremely adhesive, so you only get one chance at this. And that's why we don't put the sticky tape on the bottom, so that you can put your window, decorative glass window at the bottom, and slide it left or right, and then put it up to where you want it. So that's why we do the dry fit and why there's no sticky tape on the bottom. Because once it's stuck, it's there. So you see, I got it in the bottom. Can move it left or right a little bit. Got about even spacing on both sides. And then firmly press it down. And your window is up. It's not installed. that you've got a similar spacing on both sides. And this gives you an air gap, which actually improves the installation of your window about 30% because there's a little air gap now that's going to be back there. And of course, then we'll caulk around the perimeter here to match this trim. And I might add, as you're pressing this, you press the lead, don't press the glass. So you're pressing that lead, that's where the sticky tape is. So you're pressing the lead, not the glass, because you don't want to damage that glass. Glass is very substantial, but no need taking a risk. The next thing we do is choose the caulk. We use PP&G's caulk. It's a siliconized caulk. It's the best caulk we've found. It comes out creamy smooth. It's easy to manage. It's good inside and outside if you have an application outside you need to deal with. And it's a 50-year caulk, so it certainly should serve a lifetime for most people. Critical thing about the caulk are two things. One's color. We're going to use a color that matches the trim fairly well, so that's very important. All the caulk is paintable, so in the event that you change out a color of a door, you can repaint over the caulk. The other important point in doing a good caulk job is getting the opening of the nozzle of the caulk almost the same size as the gap that you're filling. So that doesn't have to be precise, but it's better to have it smaller than larger. So we're going to cut this now. We need to open the caulk, and we want the opening of the caulk to be similar in size to the opening of the gap that we're going to fill here. So we're going to take off maybe a 1/4 of an inch here to give an opening about the same size as the gap here, and you'll see that once we make the cut. So I always like to do it at an angle, and we're done. And you can see the opening we have here, and now we'll take it over, and you can see that's about the size of the caulk we need to have here. You'll also notice when we put the caulk in, the caulk's going to look a little lighter than the wood, but it dries darker, so we're going to be in good shape when we're finished. Okay, so we're ready to do some caulking. Caulking is not that complicated. Everybody gets a little nervous about it, but I always like to have a paper towel with me also, and you'll see why in just a second. But we get a little bubble out here started. So you can see the opening is just about the size of the gap that I'm trying to fill. You don't have to fill the whole thing. You're just trying to get a nice seal between the outside glass and this glass panel that we're installing to keep it sealed out from bugs and air and such, and it will also hold it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. First time you do it, I'll explain why in just a second. All right, so we've got it caulked all the way around. So it's sponge time. This is something we do a little differently than everybody else. I use a lot of sponges. We take them, get them wet, and then wring them out, because we don't want them wet, we want them damp. So wring them out, and now they're just barely damp. You'll also have the gloves on. I didn't mention that earlier, but always wear gloves when you're handling the glass because you don't want any fingerprints on the glass. So that's, again, part of the install packet that we send you are a pair of gloves. So whenever you're handling the glass, you can keep the fingerprints off the glass. Kind of important. All right, so we've got the sponge, and let me show you how we're going to do with it. It's much better than just using your finger, okay? Because the caulk is siliconized. It's a latex caulk that's siliconized, so it's water-based. So it responds to water. So it makes a nice smooth finish when you have the dampness. And if you load up your brushes with caulk and you just go, it's water soluble, we'll take them over to the sink and rinse them out and come back and finish the job. Okay, so we're ready now to take off the blue tape for the final touches. I'm going to make sure that we have no air gaps, no light coming through around the edges, and we don't. So we're going to want to smooth it out. Again, while the brush is a little damp and the caulk hasn't dried, it'll take about 24 hours, depending on how humid it is, maybe 48 hours for the caulk to dry completely. But with the sticky tape that's on the back, this window's not coming out. And, so now I'm using the pick to get around the corners of my glass so that we end up with a nice clean leading below. And I also like to fold this sticky tape over. I mean blue tape, not sticky tape, but the blue tape over so it, otherwise you go put it in a trash can, it sticks and fills your bag up right away. So. Try not to do that. Nice clean edge. And you want to check your corners. Here I have a little bit of a remnant of the tape left that it didn't come off. So we got that. And sometimes you'll have, as you press through, you'll have some caulk that will seep through, and just take a paper towel and clean that up. Again, now's the best time to do that because the caulk hasn't set up. So with the last piece off, you're ready to enjoy the fruits of your labor and the loveliness of the design. And we're installed. Enjoy.